Night arrives quietly, not all at once, but gradually, as light loosens its grip on the world, and the edges of things begin to soften. The noise of the day recedes, replaced by a deeper stillness, the kind that invites reflection rather than demands attention. This is the hour when questions feel heavier and answers feel less important. Welcome aboard the night voyage. Tonight is not about certainty. It is not about conclusions. It is about drifting through the places science still approaches with humility and sometimes with silence. As you settle into the darkness, imagine the vessel beneath you gliding forward without effort. No engine sound, no urgency, only steady motion through a vast, unseen expanse. Below the hull, the ocean stretches downward, layer after layer, fading from dark blue into something closer to black. Pressure builds, light disappears, and yet the water remains alive with secrets. Far beneath the surface, in depths rarely touched by human presence, the ocean speaks in ways we do not fully understand. At first, the sound seems distant, almost imagined. A low, resonant call that rises through the water, stretching across thousands of miles. It does not belong to any known machine. It does not match the voice of any recognized creature. Its source remains unknown, its tone hauntingly organic, as though the ocean itself briefly found a voice. For a moment, researchers listened closely, certain that with enough data, clarity would emerge. But the deeper they listened, the more the sound resisted explanation. It was powerful, brief, and then gone, leaving behind only recordings and unanswered questions. The ocean, it seemed, had spoken once, and chosen not to repeat itself. As the echoes fade, the water around the vessel begins to change. The darkness lightens ever so slightly, not from above, but from within. At first it resembles moonlight scattered across waves, but there is no moon here. The glow spreads gently, turning the sea into something luminous and unreal. Each movement of the water leaves behind soft trails of light, as though stars have fallen and dissolved into the surface. Sailors have described this sight for centuries. Vast stretches of ocean blowing steadily through the night, calm and silent, stretching to the horizon. There is no flickering, no sudden flash, just a quiet radiance, steady and serene, surrounding ships as they pass through, as if welcomed by something ancient and aware. Science suggests living organisms may be responsible, yet no explanation fully captures the scale, the consistency, or the stillness of the phenomenon. Samples are scarce, observations are fleeting, and by morning the sea returns to darkness, leaving behind only memory and wonder. The glow slowly dims as the vessel drifts onward. Below, the ocean floor begins to rise, forming shapes that feel unexpectedly deliberate. Stone edges appear where randomness should reign. Flat surfaces intersect at angles too precise to ignore. Massive formations rest in silence, resembling steps, platforms, and terraces carved into the seabed. Some see natural geology shaped by time and pressure. Others sense intention, the quiet remnants of something built long ago, now claimed by the sea. The water presses against the stone, patient and unyielding, blurring the line between what was formed and what was created. No inscriptions remain. No tools lie scattered nearby. Only shapes, enduring and unresolved, resting beneath the waves as though waiting to be understood or left undisturbed. The vessel slows here, hovering in the cold clarity of deep water. And then movement, not fast, not dramatic, just a gentle pulse of life drifting upward. A translucent form floats by, delicate and almost timeless, its body glowing faintly in the dark. It moves without urgency, without resistance, surrendering to the current rather than fighting it. This small traveler carries a secret that unsettles even seasoned scientists. When damaged, when aged, when nearing the natural end shared by all living things, it does something unexpected. Instead of dying, it begins again. Cells transform. Time seems to fold inward. Youth returns where decay should follow. Death for this creature appears optional. The ocean does not announce this miracle. It does not explain it. It simply allows it to exist, quietly, endlessly, in the vast darkness where rules feel more flexible and certainty drifts away. As the jellyfish disappears into the deep, the water grows still once more. Above, the surface remains far away. Below, the unknown stretches even farther. And somewhere between those depths, the voyage continues, unhurried, unresolved, and gently unfolding into the night. The vessel continues its slow descent. Light has long since vanished, absorbed by layers of water that press inward from every direction. Down here, distance loses meaning. Sound travels farther than sight, and even then it arrives distorted, stretched thin by pressure and time. It is in this vast darkness that the ocean has produced one of its most unsettling signatures, a sound so powerful it crossed entire basins of water, echoing through instruments thousands of miles away. When it was first detected, it did not resemble the call of any known creature, nor the noise of shifting ice or volcanic activity. It was brief, impossibly loud, and strangely organic. For a moment, it suggested something immense moving unseen through the depths. Then, just as suddenly, it disappeared. No repeat performance followed. Only recordings remain, and the uneasy understanding that something, somewhere in the deep, produced a sound louder than anything ever recorded in the ocean. As the echo fades, the sea floor slowly begins to rise. Stone replaces open water, revealing shapes that feel out of place in such a remote environment. Sharp edges emerge where erosion should have softened them. Flat surfaces intersect at angles that seem almost deliberate. Massive formations rest in orderly silence, resembling steps, platforms, and corridors carved into the seabed. Some see geology at work, fractures shaped by time, pressure, and earthquakes. Others sense a deeper mystery, one that hints at lost hands and forgotten purpose. The water does not clarify the truth. It simply flows over the stone, erasing nothing, explaining nothing, allowing the shapes to persist in ambiguity. The deeper the vessel drifts, the darker the water becomes once more. Then, without warning, the darkness begins to glow, not with flickering light, but with a steady, soft radiance spreading across the surface above. From a distance, it resembles moonlight caught in gentle waves. Up close, it becomes something far stranger, an ocean illuminated from within, glowing pale and milky white as far as the eye can see. Ships have passed through these luminous waters in stunned silence, their wakes carving glowing paths that fade slowly behind them. The phenomenon appears calm, almost peaceful, yet its scale defies easy explanation. Entire stretches of sea shine uniformly, sometimes for hours, then vanish by morning. Samples offer hints, but never certainty. The glow arrives, lingers, and leaves, as though the ocean briefly reveals a hidden face, then turns away. As the light dissolves back into darkness, movement stirs below. A fragile form drifts past the hull, translucent and weightless, its body pulsing gently as it rides the current. It appears delicate, even temporary, yet within it lies a biological contradiction. When injured, when aged, when nearing the end shared by all living things, it does something unexpected. Instead of continuing forward toward death, it reverses. Cells transform, structures reorganize, time folds inward, youth replaces age, and the cycle begins again. The ocean offers no explanation for how or why this is possible. It simply allows the phenomenon to exist, quietly, repeatedly, in waters where survival itself often feels improbable. The jellyfish fades into the dark, and the silence deepens. Then a sound rises, not loud, but persistent. A single call, drifting through the water at a frequency unlike any other. It does not harmonize with known songs. It does not receive a reply. It travels alone, crossing vast distances without echo or answer. For years, instruments have listened as this solitary voice continues its journey through the sea, too high, too low, too unique to belong anywhere else. The call repeats, steady and patient, as if expecting a response that never comes. In the immeasurable expanse of the ocean, even sound can be lonely. The vessel moves onward, entering a region long associated with disruption. Compasses have faltered here. Ships have vanished. Storms have risen without warning, then dissolved just as quickly. The water feels unsettled, as though currents collide beneath the surface, pulling and twisting in unseen patterns. Some blame tectonic instability, others point to magnetic irregularities. None can fully explain the pattern of loss that has accumulated over time. The sea does not mark this place with signs or boundaries. It offers no warning, only absence and stories left behind by those who never returned. Far away from these turbulent waters, another anomaly rests in colder depths. A shape lies on the seafloor, smooth and symmetrical. Unlike the jagged terrain around it, its surface appears scarred, as though something once pressed into it and then lifted away. Cameras reveal textures that resemble metal, yet behave like stone. No debris field surrounds it. No impact trail leads to it. It sits quietly, unresolved, defying classification. Neither fully natural nor convincingly artificial, just present, a question resting in the dark. As the vessel glides past, a new sound emerges, softer than before. It resembles a distant murmur, almost gentle, a cooing carried through the water, rising and falling in long, patient waves. At first it seems harmless, even comforting, but its source remains elusive. It does not match known marine life, nor does it behave like shifting ice or machinery. The sound repeats at intervals, calm and rhythmic, as though the ocean itself is breathing. Those who study it listen carefully, waiting for clarity that never quite arrives. The pressure increases as the descent continues, downward still, past regions already mapped and measured, into depths where instruments strain and light becomes a memory. Even here, the seafloor does not offer a single ending point. What was once thought to be the deepest place reveals new contours, trenches within trenches, hidden folds that descend farther than expected. Each discovery suggests another layer beneath it, another descent still unexplored. The ocean refuses to settle into a final measurement. Eventually, the vessel begins its slow ascent. As it rises, the water lightens subtly, and the horizon returns. The sun hangs low above the surface, heavy with color. For a moment, just as day prepares to surrender to night, something unusual appears. A brief, vivid flash of green light, resting on the edge of the sinking sun. It lasts only an instant, too fast to capture, too fleeting to study properly. Some dismiss it as illusion. Others insist it is real, a rare bending of light shaped by atmosphere and timing. Either way, it vanishes almost as soon as it appears, leaving behind doubt, wonder, and the sense that even the boundary between sea and sky holds secrets of its own. The sun slips below the horizon. The ocean grows dark once more, and the voyage, far from complete, continues deeper into the unknown. Night settles fully now. The surface above grows distant and indistinct as the vessel drifts onward, carried by slow currents that neither hurry nor hesitate. Somewhere far behind, familiar routes have vanished. What remains is open water, heavy with history and unanswered absence. In one quiet year, the sea seemed to take more than it usually does. Vessels designed to vanish into silence themselves never returned. No distress signals reached the surface. No wreckage rose to float. 4 separate journeys ended without explanation, leaving behind only names, dates, and families who waited far longer than hope allows. Investigations followed, careful and methodical, yet the ocean offered no evidence to examine. Whatever happened occurred quickly, deeply, and without witnesses. Even steel, it seemed, could disappear without a trace. Far to the north, long before modern instruments listened to the deep, the sea delivered something strange to shore. A massive form washed onto cold sand, its body already altered by decay, its shape unfamiliar and unsettling. Witnesses described long fibers, pale flesh, and proportions that matched no known creature. Some believed it to be a giant, others a mistake of decomposition. Scientists examined what little remained, but the truth slipped away as quickly as the tide that carried it in. The ocean had revealed something and then reclaimed its certainty. From those same depths, another presence occasionally rises. Long, ribbon-like bodies shimmer just beneath the surface, moving with deliberate grace. They are rarely seen, and when they are, stories follow. Some claim they appear before the earth trembles, before the sea floor shifts and land shudders above. Whether coincidence or pattern, the association lingers. These creatures live far below human reach, surfacing only briefly, as if drawn upward by forces we do not yet perceive. They vanish again just as quietly, leaving speculation in their wake. Elsewhere, the ocean performs an illusion so convincing it reshapes geography itself. From the cliffs of a distant island, water appears to pour endlessly into the depths, like a submerged waterfall, descending into the earth. It looks immense, unstoppable, yet nothing is falling at all. Sand and sediment move with currents shaped by light and shadow, creating the impression of a drop that does not exist. The eye insists on motion. Reason struggles to intervene. Even knowing the truth, the illusion remains powerful, a reminder that perception, like the ocean, is easily deceived. As the vessel moves across calmer waters, an abandoned silhouette drifts into view. A ship rests on the surface, sails set, hull intact, yet utterly silent. No crew greets the horizon. No signs of struggle mark the deck. Personal belongings remain where they were last placed, as though their owners simply stepped away and never returned. Searches found no bodies, no damage, no explanation. The ship continued drifting long after its story should have ended, becoming a floating question mark carried by the current. To this day, it remains a symbol of how suddenly order can dissolve at sea. Long before that ship ever sailed, something far stranger sank. recovered piece by piece from ancient waters. A collection of corroded fragments revealed an object that did not belong to its time. Gears meshed with impossible precision. Markings hinted at cycles of movement and prediction far beyond what history expected. Reconstruction revealed complexity that felt out of place, a device that calculated, tracked, and anticipated the motions of the heavens. How such knowledge existed, and why it was lost, remains unanswered. The sea preserved it just long enough to raise the question, then resumed its silence. Not all mysteries are remnants of the past. Some exist in places where life should not survive at all. Deep beneath the ocean floor, cracks in the earth release superheated water, rich with minerals. Temperatures soar, pressure crushes. And yet, clustered around these vents, life thrives. Creatures flourish without sunlight, feeding on chemistry rather than light. Entire ecosystems exist independent of the surface world, rewriting assumptions about where life can begin. These hidden communities suggest possibilities that stretch far beyond the ocean, and perhaps far beyond this planet. The vessel drifts toward ruins, claimed by water. Stone structures rise from the seabed, streets and temples submerged beneath centuries of silt. Once a thriving city, now a quiet echo beneath the waves. No sudden disaster fully explains its fate. The land simply gave way, slowly surrendering to the sea. Columns stand where voices once echoed. Statues rest where sunlight once fell. The ocean does not erase civilization. It preserves it in stillness, suspended in time. Some waters, however, seem unwilling to preserve anything at all. In a region marked more by legend than certainty, navigation falters. Instruments behave strangely. Storms gather without warning. Aircraft and ships alike have vanished, leaving behind fragments of data and no consistent cause. Many explanations have been offered, some grounded, others imagined, yet none account for every disappearance. The ocean here feels restless, as though boundaries behave differently beneath its surface. Far below even these troubled waters, another boundary emerges, one that moves. Layers of living matter drift through the depths, rising and falling with the cycle of day and night. To early instruments, this movement appeared solid, a false seafloor that seemed to lift and sink as though the ocean itself were breathing. Only later did its true nature reveal itself, countless organisms migrating together, forming a living veil between light and darkness. Even now, this hidden layer reminds us that the deep is not empty. It is active, dynamic, and largely unseen. The vessel slows. The water presses close once more, heavy with quiet motion. Around it, the ocean continues to hold its secrets, not out of malice, but indifference. It does not conceal. It simply exists, vast enough that understanding arrives slowly, if at all. And as the deep fades gently into the distance, the voyage prepares to turn, away from water pressure, toward the echoes left behind by human hands and forgotten time. The ocean releases us, but it does not explain itself. The ocean hides its secrets in darkness, but history hides its secrets in plain sight. As the vessel turns away from the pressure and silence of the deep, it does not rise towards certainty. Instead, it drifts into landscapes shaped by wind, stone, and time, places walked by countless feet, studied for generations, yet still misunderstood. Here, mystery does not lurk beneath crushing depths. It stands quietly under open skies, waiting to be noticed. On a hilltop shaped by hands long forgotten, massive stone pillars rise from the earth. They are arranged with intention, carved with symbols of animals and forms that predate writing itself. No cities surround them. No farms explain their presence. According to established timelines, the people who built these structures should not have existed yet, at least not in a way capable of organizing labor on this scale. And yet, the stones remain. Older than pottery, older than metal, older than the very idea of civilization as we define it. They suggest that long before history begins its written story, someone was already building monuments, not for survival, but for meaning. Meaning, however, can be difficult to decode. Bound in aging covers, a manuscript rests in silence, filled with pages of flowing symbols and unfamiliar illustrations, plants that match no known species, diagrams that seem deliberate yet indecipherable. Every attempt to read the text has failed. Linguists, cryptographers, and artificial intelligence alike have studied its patterns, searching for structure or sense. The book resists them all. It does not reveal its language, its purpose, or even its origin. It simply exists, a message written clearly, yet understood by no one. Across a vast desert plain, lines stretch for miles. They carve shapes into the earth, animals, figures, precise geometric paths, too large to comprehend from the ground. Only from above do they reveal themselves fully, arranged with careful proportion and alignment. There is no evidence of scaffolding, no signs of trial and error. Just clean, intentional design etched into the landscape. Why they were made remains uncertain. Ritual, astronomy, communication, the desert does not answer. It only preserved the drawings, patiently waiting beneath the sun. Sometimes, history's mysteries are not carved in stone, but written in bodies. In a small European town centuries ago, people began to move. At first, it appeared harmless, a few individuals swaying, stepping, unable to stop. But the movement spread. Days passed. Exhaustion followed, and still they danced. Some collapsed from fatigue, others did not survive at all. No music guided them. No clear cause explained their behavior. Was it illness, fear, belief, or something else entirely? Records described the event, but understanding never arrived. The rhythm faded eventually, leaving behind only bewilderment and silence. From silence, invention sometimes emerges. Hidden within ancient artifacts is evidence that challenges what technology should have been possible. Clay jars, metal rods, corroded remnants that, when assembled, resemble something oddly familiar, a simple device capable of producing an electric charge. Whether intentional or accidental, its existence raises questions about knowledge that may have surfaced briefly, only to vanish again without record. Maps, too, can tell stories that seem out of place. One such chart depicts coastlines with unsettling accuracy, including lands supposedly unknown at the time it was drawn. Ice-free contours suggest observations made under conditions that should not have existed within recorded history. Whether copied from older sources or based on lost exploration, the map refuses to fit neatly into accepted narratives. Not all messages are written on paper. Some are pressed into clay, stamped with repeating symbols arranged in deliberate spirals. The disc is small, unassuming, yet entirely unique. No parallels exist. No bilingual inscription offers a key. Each symbol appears once, never repeated elsewhere in history. It speaks in a language that has no surviving relatives, carrying meaning that remains forever locked away. Further east, in remote highlands, stones were found etched with strange markings and circular patterns. Stories followed of visitors from the sky, of ancient contact beyond this world. Evidence remains disputed, interpretations contested, yet the artifacts persist, raising questions about how easily certainty can fracture when context disappears. History sometimes erases people completely. A settlement was established, homes were built, lives were lived. Then, without recorded struggle, everyone vanished. No bodies, no clear signs of conflict. Only a single word carved into wood, a word that offered no explanation, only another riddle. Centuries later, the land remains quiet, holding no answers for those who ask. And on open plains far away, enormous stones stand upright, arranged with precision that defies simple explanation. Transporting them would have required coordination, strength, and planning far beyond what ancient tools should have allowed. Their purpose remains debated: calendar, temple, gathering place. Yet their endurance is undeniable. They stand still beneath shifting skies, reminding us that the past is not as simple as it appears. The vessel slows again. History stretches outward in every direction, vast, incomplete, and quietly unresolved. What we know feels small compared to what has been lost, forgotten, or misunderstood. And deeper still, beneath the familiar dates and names, the voyage continues into knowledge that slipped through time's grasp. Time does not move evenly. In some places it rushes forward, leaving little behind. In others it settles, allowing fragments of the past to remain just long enough to trouble the present. As the voyage drifts deeper into forgotten centuries, the boundary between legend and record grows increasingly thin. At the edge of a desert plateau, a familiar face gazes outward. Carved from stone, weathered by wind, its features appear far older than the civilization that surrounded it. Deep channels run along its body, resembling the slow marks left by flowing water rather than sand. If these traces were shaped by rain, they suggest an age that reaches back to a time when the land was greener, when the climate itself told a different story. The stone does not argue. It simply bears the marks, leaving history to reconsider its timelines. Lost knowledge does not always leave monuments behind. Sometimes it shatters and vanishes. Ancient texts describe a glass so resilient it would bend rather than break, returning to its shape after impact. The invention was reportedly demonstrated, then suppressed, and eventually forgotten. No surviving example remains. Only the story persists, fragile and incomplete, like the material it describes. Other secrets burned far too brightly to survive. A substance once ignited on water, clinging to ships and walls alike, consuming everything in its path. It could not be extinguished by waves, nor easily replicated by enemies. Its formula was guarded carefully, passed down through generations, until the knowledge disappeared entirely. What remains are accounts of fire that behaved unlike any other, and the realization that some discoveries vanish not by accident, but by loss. Not all lost knowledge was meant to be destructive. Hidden within ancient scrolls is a list, locations, measurements, instructions, pointing toward vast quantities of treasure concealed long ago. The descriptions are specific, deliberate, and frustratingly vague. Despite countless searches, no cache has ever been found. The map exists, the gold does not. Whether it was moved, exaggerated, or never recovered remains unresolved. In quiet wetlands, the past surfaces in a different way. Bodies emerge from dark peat, their skin preserved, their features intact, as though time itself paused upon them. These individuals lived and died centuries ago, yet their faces remain recognizable, their final moments frozen in detail. How such preservation occurs is understood only partially. Why these people were placed there, and what their deaths meant to those who buried them, remains uncertain. Some languages vanish without leaving a single sound behind. On a remote island, symbols were once carved into wood, forming a system of writing unlike any other. No fluent speakers remain. No translation survives. The meaning of each mark has dissolved, leaving behind a script that once carried stories, beliefs, and memory, now reduced to shape alone. Across another landscape, enormous stone vessels rest, scattered across open ground. Their purpose is unknown. Their placement appears intentional. Some are decorated, others remain plain. No clear explanation accounts for their number or their labor-intensive creation. They do not point clearly to ritual, storage, or burial. They simply exist, silent and unexplained, weathering alongside the land. Further still, the earth holds shapes that seem too perfect to be accidental. Massive spheres of stone lie half buried, smooth and precise, as though shaped with tools far more advanced than those attributed to the culture nearby. Why they were made remains uncertain. Why they were left behind remains unanswered. Their symmetry persists, quietly challenging assumptions about skill and intention. Some secrets are protected by design. A great leader was laid to rest, accompanied by instructions meant to ensure he would never be found. Guards who carried out the burial were sworn to silence. Paths were erased. Rivers may have been diverted. Generations passed, and the location of the tomb slipped entirely from memory. The land still hides it well, honoring a promise made long ago. And then there is loss on a scale beyond recovery. Once, in a place of learning and ambition, knowledge from across the known world was gathered and preserved. Texts on mathematics, medicine, astronomy, philosophy, many written nowhere else, were housed together under one roof. Over time, through neglect, conflict, and fire, they vanished. What exactly was lost can never be known. The absence itself has become the mystery. The vessel slows as history fades into shadow. What remains is not ignorance, but awareness, an understanding that the past is incomplete, fractured, and filled with silences, as meaningful as its records. And as the voyage turns once more, leaving stone and parchment behind, it carries us inward, toward questions written not in ruins, but in living minds. The journey continues. We look back at history for answers, but when we look up, the questions only get bigger. The vessel no longer presses against stone or water. It releases itself from gravity's familiar hold and drifts outward, away from ruins and records, into a darkness so vast it barely feels empty. Here, distance is measured not in miles, but in time. Light itself becomes a messenger from the past, arriving long after its source has changed or disappeared entirely. As the stars spread out before us, something strange becomes apparent. The universe should not be holding together the way it does. Galaxies spin faster than their visible mass allows. Clusters remain bound when gravity alone should let them drift apart. Something unseen is present, exerting influence without revealing its form. It does not shine. It does not absorb light. Yet without it, the cosmos would unravel. This invisible presence shapes everything, while remaining completely undetected, known only by the way it pulls and the way it refuses to be found. And yet, Even as unseen matter binds the universe together, another force seems determined to tear it apart. Space itself is expanding, not slowing, but accelerating. Distant galaxies rush away from one another, carried by something that behaves less like gravity and more like pressure. Whatever drives this expansion does not cluster or gather. It pushes evenly, relentlessly, stretching the fabric of existence. No one knows what it is made of. No one knows why it exists, only that it dominates the future of everything. As the vessel drifts along these expanding paths, motion appears where stillness should reign. Entire regions of galaxies lean subtly in one direction, drawn towards something massive and unseen. The pull is unmistakable, yet the source remains hidden behind dense clouds of stars and dust. Whatever lies there exerts influence on a scale difficult to comprehend, shaping the movement of galaxies across millions of light years without revealing its true nature. It is a destination no one can see, yet everything seems to acknowledge. Sometimes the universe speaks more directly. A brief signal once arrived from deep space, narrow in frequency and powerful in intensity. It rose above the background noise, held steady for a moment, then vanished. It did not repeat. No pattern followed. Attempts to trace it back led only to silence. Whether it was a cosmic coincidence or something far more deliberate remains unanswered. The universe spoke once, and then chose not to again. Elsewhere, a distant star behaves unlike any other. Its light dims dramatically, then returns, without a regular rhythm. The fluctuations do not resemble planets passing in front of it, nor the pulse of a dying star. Explanations range from clouds of debris to structures built on a scale so vast they challenge imagination itself. Nothing fits perfectly. The star continues its quiet irregularity, unconcerned with the attention it has drawn. From even farther away, something passed through our solar neighborhood without stopping. It arrived fast, elongated, and unfamiliar, following a trajectory unlike anything bound to the sun. It reflected little light, showed no clear signs of activity, and then continued onward, slipping back into interstellar darkness. Whether it was rock, ice, or something else entirely remains debated. It did not linger long enough to answer. The cosmos, it seems, prefers brief encounters. At irregular intervals, flashes of energy erupt from distant galaxies, intense, short-lived bursts that release more power in milliseconds than stars do in days. They appear without warning and vanish just as quickly. Some repeat, others never return. Their origins remain uncertain. Colliding stars, exotic remnants, unknown processes. Each explanation solves part of the puzzle, but never the whole. Closer to home, order emerges in unexpected ways. High above a gas giant, a storm locks itself into perfect geometry. Winds howl at incredible speeds, yet maintain sharp edges and stable shape. The formation persists, year after year, resisting the chaos expected of planetary weather. No complete explanation accounts for its endurance. The storm simply exists, precise, symmetrical, and quietly unsettling. As the vessel continues its outward drift, silence grows heavier. The universe is vast, old, filled with stars, planets, and potential. And yet, despite all this space and time, there is no clear sign of anyone else listening, no confirmed messages, no unmistakable artifacts, only silence, deep and uninterrupted. The question lingers not as fear, but as absence. If the universe is capable of life, where is everyone? And beyond even these questions, gravity tightens once more. Regions of space collapse inward, forming objects so dense that familiar laws begin to fail. Light bends, time slows. Matter compresses beyond comprehension. At their center lies something unreachable, hidden behind a boundary no signal can cross. What exists there remains unknown. Equations describe the edge. Imagination fills the center. The truth stays sealed away, forever, just beyond reach. The vessel drifts near this boundary, then gently turns away. Because beyond this point, even the universe itself grows uncertain, and the night voyage has only just begun to explore how strange reality can become. Beyond the edge of what collapses inward, some theories suggest a reversal, not a place of swallowing, but of release, a mirror to the darkest objects in the universe, where matter and energy might emerge instead of vanish. These hypothetical regions would not pull light toward them, but expel it, reshaping space in ways no telescope has yet confirmed. They exist only in equations and speculation, balanced delicately between possibility and imagination. Whether such exits truly exist, or remain mathematical ghosts, the universe has not yet revealed. As the vessel drifts farther from familiar stars, space begins to thin, galaxies grow sparse, the glow of distant suns fades, until vast regions appear almost empty. In one such expanse, there is very nearly nothing at all. A colossal volume of space stretches outward with hardly a galaxy to mark its presence. It is not an error in observation. It is real, a void so immense it challenges the idea that matter is evenly spread. Why this region was left behind remains uncertain. It is as though the universe skipped a breath. Beyond the void, reality begins to multiply. Some theories suggest our universe may not be alone, but one bubble among many, each with its own rules, constants, and outcomes. These other universes would remain unreachable, separated by boundaries that cannot be crossed. They would never collide, never communicate, never confirm one another's existence. And yet, the idea lingers, a quiet suggestion that everything we see may be only a single variation among countless unseen possibilities. From the early universe itself, an irregularity remains. A vast cold region appears imprinted on the background radiation, left behind by the cosmos's first light. It is larger than expected, darker than surrounding space, and difficult to explain. Whether it represents a statistical fluke, a massive structure, or evidence of something beyond our cosmic horizon is still debated. The universe carries its earliest scars quietly. Closer to home, the familiar paths of planets show subtle disturbances. Orbits bend ever so slightly, tugged by something unseen. Calculations suggest a massive body far beyond the known planets, moving slowly through the darkness. It has never been observed directly. No reflected light confirms it. Yet its gravitational influence leaves fingerprints across the solar system. If it exists, it remains distant and patient, circling far beyond our reach. On another world, scale itself feels distorted. A volcano rises so high and wide, it defies terrestrial comparison. Its slopes stretch across an entire region, shaped not by explosive violence, but by slow, relentless flow. In weaker gravity, size becomes less constrained. The land builds upward and outward, layer by layer, until it stands as the largest known mountain in the solar system. It sleeps now, silent, beneath a thin sky. Far away, a planet orbits close to its star, compressed by gravity and heat. Its surface may be rich in crystalline carbon, transformed under extreme pressure into something far denser than stone. Temperatures soar. Conditions remain hostile, yet its existence reminds us that planets need not resemble Earth to be real or extraordinary. Not all promising worlds are distant. Beneath a shell of ice, hidden from sunlight, an ocean may stretch across an entire moon. Tides flex its crust. Heat rises from below. Water remains liquid in the dark. Chemistry unfolds slowly, quietly, away from observation. If life can emerge there, it would do so unseen, sheltered beneath frozen silence. Even our own sky plays tricks on perception. As the moon rises near the horizon, it appears swollen, immense, dominating the landscape. Higher in the sky, it shrinks again. Instruments show no change. The illusion persists nonetheless, rooted not in the heavens, but in the mind's interpretation of space and distance. Reality, it seems, is partly shaped by how we look. And eventually every journey faces an ending. The universe itself is no exception. Stars burn their fuel. Galaxies drift apart. Energy spreads thinner with time. Some futures predict a slow fading into stillness, where heat and motion disappear. Others imagine a more violent fate, where expansion tears apart even the fabric of matter. Which ending awaits remains unknown. The vessel slows, suspended between origin and outcome. Around it, the universe continues its quiet unfolding, vast, patient, unresolved. And as the stars dim gently into the background, the voyage prepares to turn once more, inward, toward mysteries, not written across the sky, but woven into life itself. The journey goes on. The universe is vast, but the greatest mystery might be hiding inside our own heads. As the voyage turns inward, the scale changes. There are no galaxies here, no oceans pressing against the hull. Instead, there is a quiet darkness behind the eyes, a space where matter becomes experience and signals become meaning. Somehow, from ordinary atoms arranged in careful patterns, awareness emerges. Thought arises. Sensation appears. The universe begins to observe itself through living minds. No single region of the brain can be isolated as the source of this awareness. Electrical activity can be measured, chemical signals traced, yet none fully explain how matter becomes conscious, how experience itself comes into being. Within that awareness, another mystery unfolds each night. As the body rests, the mind wanders. Images form without input. Stories assemble without effort. Memories blend with imagination. Some dreams feel vivid and emotional. Others dissolve before morning arrives. No single explanation accounts for why the brain dreams at all, whether it is rehearsing, repairing, or simply wandering through internal noise. The sleeper rarely questions the logic of these visions until waking breaks the spell. Sometimes waking life itself feels strangely familiar. A moment unfolds, a sentence spoken, a room entered, and certainty follows that it has already happened before. The feeling is brief but intense, as though memory has slipped out of sequence. Neurology suggests a timing error, signal misfiled as recollection instead of perception. Yet the experience feels deeper than a mistake. It leaves behind the quiet discomfort of repetition without origin. Belief, too, exerts power over the body. In some cases, improvement follows treatment, even when no active medicine is present. Pain eases, symptoms fade. The brain responds not to chemistry, but expectation. Neural pathways shift, hormones adjust, healing begins, triggered not by substance, but by belief itself. The body listens closely to the mind, and sometimes it listens too well. Negative expectation can produce real harm, nausea, pain, fatigue. The belief that something will cause damage becomes enough to do so. The brain prepares the body for threat, and the body responds accordingly. No toxins are required, only anticipation. The line between mind and matter grows thinner. At the boundary between life and death, reports become even stranger. Some individuals who come close to dying describe a consistent pattern: separation from the body, a tunnel of light, a sense of calm or clarity. Brain chemistry, oxygen deprivation, and memory reconstruction offer partial explanations, yet no single account explains the consistency of these experiences across cultures and time. They remain deeply personal and deeply debated. Damage to the brain is usually associated with loss, yet in rare cases, it reveals something unexpected. Individuals suddenly display extraordinary abilities: advanced calculation, perfect recall, artistic skill, abilities that they never showed before. How these capacities were hidden and why injury releases them is still unclear. The brain, it seems, holds more potential than it normally allows to surface. Some mysteries are quieter. A low, persistent sound, distant, mechanical, unplaceable, is heard by a small portion of the population around the world. It follows no clear source. It travels indoors and out. Some hear it constantly, others only at night. Measurements often fail to detect anything at all. Whether environmental, neurological, or something else entirely, the sound remains real to those who hear it. Occasionally, the body itself becomes the site of mystery. Rare cases describe unexplained burning associated with chemical reactions, flammable materials, and confined environments, often misrepresented, often exaggerated. Scientific investigations suggest slow, localized processes rather than sudden ignition, yet no single explanation accounts for every detail reported. The truth, like the phenomenon, resists simple labels, and sometimes the unknown gathers far from laboratories, in remote places shaped by cold and fear. A group of experienced travelers once abandoned their shelter under conditions that made little sense. Some fled without protection. Some suffered injuries that raised more questions than answers. Weather, terrain, and human response all play roles. Yet none fully explain the choices made that night. The mountains kept their silence. The vessel slows. Around it, thoughts continue to form. Memories surface and dissolve. Sensations flicker in and out of awareness. The mind remains a landscape as vast and unexplored as any ocean or sky. And deeper within it, the voyage continues into phenomena that blur the line between brain, body, and the world itself. The mind does not exist in isolation. It is shaped constantly by signals arriving from the world around it, some visible, others subtle enough to pass unnoticed. In rare cases, people report sudden illness marked by headaches, dizziness, confusion, and fatigue appearing without an obvious cause. Investigations search for environmental exposure, stress responses, and neurological factors, yet no single explanation fully accounts for every report. What remains is uncertainty and the recognition that the brain can be affected in ways we do not yet fully understand. Sometimes, the sky itself seems to participate in the mystery. Before the ground begins to tremble, faint lights have been seen, flashes, glows, and streaks appearing briefly above fault lines. They are silent and fleeting, disappearing before earthquakes make their presence known. Laboratory experiments suggest stressed rock can release electrical charge, but the exact mechanism in nature remains incomplete. The Earth offers warnings. We simply do not always know how to read them. Electricity, too, behaves strangely on occasion. Blowing spheres appear during storms, drifting slowly through the air, passing through windows, lingering for seconds before vanishing without sound. Attempts to recreate these phenomena in controlled settings have met limited success. Observations are rare, unpredictable, and difficult to document. They remain suspended between physics and folklore. Far below the storm clouds, life follows paths written without maps. Birds cross oceans. Insects return to precise locations. Marine animals navigate featureless waters with unerring accuracy. Some follow magnetic fields. Others read the stars or the sun. Many rely on cues still only partially understood. Despite decades of research, the full picture of how animals migrate remains incomplete. Direction, it seems, can be instinctive. Closer to home, a familiar sound vibrates softly. A cat settles, content, and a low rhythmic vibration fills the air. Muscles contract and relax at remarkable speed, sustained effortlessly for long periods. While the mechanics are partially understood, the deeper purpose remains debated: communication, healing, bonding, or something more subtle. The sound is simple, its effect is not. Even humans respond to signals without conscious intent. A yawn begins in one person, then spreads through a room. It crosses cultures and species, triggered not by tiredness alone, but by observation and empathy. The brain mirrors what it sees, responding automatically. Why this behavior evolved remains uncertain. It is a reminder that minds are connected in quiet ways. Sometimes the connection persists even when the body does not. Individuals who lose a limb may continue to feel it. Sensation, movement, even pain, mapped vividly onto nothing at all. The brain's representation of the body remains intact, refusing to update itself. Neural circuits continue firing, honoring a form that no longer exists. The experience is real, though the source is gone. At the heart of these questions lies a deeper divide. Some argue that the mind emerges entirely from the brain, that thoughts are nothing more than complex electrical patterns. Others suggest something more, proposing that awareness cannot be fully reduced to matter alone. The debate remains unresolved, suspended between philosophy and neuroscience. The answer, if it exists, has not yet revealed itself. Often, the mind acts before thought can intervene. A sudden feeling urges caution. A decision forms without conscious reasoning. Intuition arises from patterns recognized too quickly for awareness to track. Experience, memory, and subtle cues combine beneath the surface, presenting conclusions as feelings rather than facts. We trust them more often than we realize, and beneath it all, memory quietly does its work. Moments are recorded, stored, altered, and recalled, but not in any single location. Memories spread across networks of neurons, reshaped each time they are accessed. They are not static archives, but living reconstructions, influenced by emotion and context. Where memory truly resides remains an open question. The vessel slows once more. Inside the mind, answers blur into experience. Boundaries soften. Certainty gives way to curiosity. The greatest mysteries are no longer distant or abstract. They are intimate, unfolding with every thought and sensation. And as awareness itself drifts gently toward rest, the voyage prepares to turn again toward the quiet mechanisms that govern life, time, and the rules beneath reality. The journey continues. We end our voyage not with answers, but with the fundamental nature of reality itself. The vessel no longer moves through space in any familiar way. There is no up or down, no distance to measure. What remains is a quiet unfolding, a gradual release from objects, events, and even stories. Here, questions do not demand resolution. They simply exist, gently, like thoughts before sleep. Time is the first to loosen its grip. It flows constant, dependable, always moving forward. Yet when examined closely, it becomes strangely difficult to define. Equations describe it as a dimension. Experience frames it as a flow. Memory stretches it. Emotion compresses it. In some theories, it does not move at all. It simply exists, with past and future laid out together. Whether time is fundamental, emergent, or an illusion of perception remains unresolved. Still, it carries us forward, moment by moment, without asking what it truly is. Within that flow, life appears. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but quietly, chemistry arranging itself into patterns capable of copying, adapting, and persisting. Simple molecules bond, separate, and bond again. Energy passes through them. Complexity builds slowly, without intention or plan. How non-living matter crossed the threshold into life is still unknown. The conditions are partly understood. The transition itself is not. Somewhere between chemistry and biology, the first spark took hold, and once life exists, it begins to observe. Some suggest that reality itself may be structured, not as substance, but as information, that what we experience as matter and energy could be expressions of an underlying code. The idea is unsettling, yet strangely quiet in its implications. If true, it would not change how the world feels, only how it is interpreted. Whether this is metaphor or mechanism remains uncertain. At the smallest scales, reality behaves in unfamiliar ways. Particles once connected remain linked regardless of distance, responding instantly to changes in one another. Space does not seem to matter. Separation does not break the relationship. The connection persists, defying classical intuition. The universe allows this intimacy without explanation. Even observation itself becomes questionable. In certain experiments, particles behave differently, depending on whether they are watched. Patterns appear or vanish, based on measurement alone. Reality seems undecided until interaction forces a choice. What exists before observation, and whether observation creates or merely reveals, remains open to interpretation. The act of looking changes what is seen, and yet the body demands rest from all this uncertainty. Sleep arrives not as a luxury, but a requirement. Every known animal engages in it, surrendering awareness regularly and without negotiation. The brain resets, repairs, and reorganizes. Memory consolidates. Waste clears. Consciousness steps aside. Why this process cannot be bypassed remains unclear. Life insists on consciousness. Night after night, limits appear elsewhere as well. Light moves at a speed that cannot be surpassed. No matter how much energy is applied, it remains the ultimate boundary. Space and time adjust to preserve it. Cause and effect obey it. Why this speed, and not another, defines the universe remains unanswered. It simply is. Gravity, by contrast, feels strangely gentle compared to other forces. It is unimaginably weak. yet it shapes galaxies, stars, and worlds. It bends space itself, guiding motion without touch. Why it is so feeble, and yet so influential, remains one of physics' quiet frustrations. The force that holds everything together refuses to explain itself. All of this expansion, motion, and structure traces back to a beginning, a state of unimaginable density and heat from which space and time themselves emerged. What came before that moment is unclear. Perhaps nothing, perhaps something beyond description. The question may not even be valid. Language struggles at the edge of origin. The universe offers no memory of its first moment, and within it all, humans discovered numbers, patterns that describe reality with uncanny precision, equations that predict phenomena never directly observed. Whether mathematics is a human invention or a discovery of something that already exists remains uncertain. Either way, reality seems fluent in it. The vessel slows almost to stillness. Thoughts stretch, boundaries soften, questions lose their urgency. In this quiet abstraction, the voyage prepares to drift even deeper toward ideas so fundamental they feel less like mysteries and more like background silence. As the vessel drifts deeper into stillness, motion itself begins to feel optional. Order gives way to gradual change. Energy spreads. Heat flows from concentration to balance. Over time, differences soften, structures erode, and the universe trends gently toward uniformity. This tendency has a direction, a quiet arrow pointing forward. It is not driven by intention, only probability. Once order disperses, it rarely gathers again. Time, it seems, remembers which way entropy flows. Within that direction, one planet occupies a narrow and fortunate range, not too close to its star, not too far away, warm enough for liquid water, stable enough for chemistry to persist. Many worlds exist, yet few appear balanced in quite this way. Whether this placement is coincidence, necessity, or selection remains debated. We observe it only because we are here to observe at all. The universe does not explain its hospitality. Water itself carries its own quiet strangeness. Most substances grow denser as they cool. Water does the opposite. Ice expands, floating gently atop liquid below. This simple anomaly protects life, allowing oceans to freeze from the surface down, preserving warmth beneath. Chemistry behind this behavior is understood, yet its consequences are profound. Life rests on a molecular exception. The sun, too, hides an unseen aspect. In silence, it appears calm and distant. Yet, if space could carry sound, its constant motion would produce an unending roar, pressure waves rippling outward, louder than anything experienced on Earth. The vacuum spares us this noise, allowing the star to burn quietly across the void. Even violence can arrive without sound. At the deepest levels, emptiness itself becomes uncertain. What we call nothing is rarely empty. Particles flicker into existence, then vanish. Energy fluctuates. Fields persist. A perfect vacuum, entirely devoid of content, may not be possible at all. Even absence, it seems, has structure. Nothing refuses to be nothing. And then there is infinity, a concept simple to define, yet impossible to fully imagine. Endless extension, uncountable continuation. The mind approaches it, but never arrives. Mathematics allows infinity to exist precisely, while human intuition falters. Some ideas are meant to be approached, not held. Looking forward, time raises another question. Is the future open, branching with each choice? or already written, unfolding inevitably from what came before. Physics leans toward determinism. Experience suggests freedom. The truth may lie somewhere in between, or beyond both interpretations. We move forward without knowing which parts of our path were chosen. Observation itself returns to the center of the question. Does the universe exist independently, or only when measured, recorded, or perceived? At quantum scales, observation alters outcome. At human scales, reality appears stable. Whether existence requires awareness, or awareness merely reveals what is already there, remains unresolved. The universe does not clarify its dependence. And beneath all the theories, equations, and models lies a final uncertainty. Will there ever be a complete understanding? A single framework explaining everything, from particles to consciousness, from time to meaning? Or will knowledge always remain partial, expanding while never finishing? Perhaps understanding is not meant to conclude. The vessel drifts now without destination, no pressure, no urgency, only quiet presence within a vast unknown. Questions soften into background hum. Answers are no longer required. And in this silence, the voyage ends not with resolution, but with rest. The universe continues, and for now, that is enough. And so the questions remain, not as problems to be solved, but as quiet companions in the dark. The universe does not hurry toward answers. It unfolds slowly, patiently, allowing mystery to exist without explanation. As awareness softens and thoughts begin to drift, the night continues its gentle passage. Time loosens, distance fades. Curiosity becomes calm. Somewhere far below the surface of the world, and far beyond the edge of the stars, the unknown is still there, waiting without urgency. And when the mind grows quiet enough, the voyage does not end. It simply continues, drifting back into the night.